G'day everyone, Tom Craig here. Welcome to my podcast, The Help Side, where we talk to some of the most recognisable names in hockey and hear about the highs and lows of their careers and what makes them tick. Now, some of you may have noticed we've had a few weeks hiatus as we line up our guests for the next season of shows, if you will. And with the lifting of COVID restrictions, hopefully we'll be able to record our first face-to-face interview, which is exciting times for us, and hopefully we can bring you some more quality hockey content as club seasons look to get started in the Southern Hemisphere. Now, we have some fantastic guests to come over the next few months, and I'm sure their stories will provide you with some inspiration to get you out of your trackies and into your shinnies as the season kicks off. And I could not think of a better guest to do that than the one we have today. We're very lucky, and I'm very excited to be able to introduce back-to-back reigning female World Player of the Year, Eva de Goede, as this episode's guest, who joins us for a two-part special of The Help Side.
And the Netherlands are the World Cup winners once again. They successfully defend their title that they won in The Hague 4 years ago.
March upon one to change that. Leaves it for Eva de Goede again and into the roof of the net. That's how to do it. Well, finally it came from the corner. Eva de Goede this time with a low flick and a second for her. De Goede making it 8.
Now, few teams have dominated a sport to the extent that the Dutch national team have dominated the women's game since their gold medal in Beijing in 2008. And Eva has been there for every major along the way. The two-time World Player of the Year, Eva has arguably the most impressive hockey resume of any current player. Boasting over 230 internationals, Eva has incredibly lost only 2 games across 3 World Cups and 3 Olympics in her career, and both of those were finals. This leaves Eva with 2 Olympic golds and a silver, and 2 World Cup golds and a silver. As one of the most complete midfielders in the game, Eva's poise on the ball and ability to link her teammates together is legendary. Now, in this episode, we take our time discussing just what it is that makes the Dutch so successful and what it feels like to be a part of that team, as well as exploring some of Eva's most memorable hockey moments, of which, it has to be said, there are many. In typical Dutch fashion, Eva is incredibly forthright about her experiences at the top, and as you could imagine, has some wonderful lessons to share with us as she's progressed from the fresh-faced 17-year-old debutant from a little town in the Netherlands to the captain of the world's best team. This is the help side of modern-day superstar, Eva de Goede. Enjoy. I'm here with reigning World Player of the Year, back-to-back World Player of the Year, I believe, Eva de Goede. Thank you very much for joining me on the help side.
No problem. It's cool to be here. Or, well, I'm at home, but sort of be here with you.
Virtually, yeah, for sure. Well, I have to admit, we haven't recorded for some weeks. We had a little bit of a break. We've had like a 6-week break, so I might be rusty again. But and there is a bit of pressure interviewing someone of your caliber. So go easy on me.
I will. You go easy on me as well, because I'm Dutch and I'm trying the best with my English, but sometimes if I can't figure out the words or whatever, I'll just ask you, but we'll find a way.
That's fine. Okay, well, let's start. I think, so you're in Holland, obviously. We're here in Australia. I think I would start you by asking what it's like over there. I know you've been training with the national team for some time since the reopening after COVID, and give us an update on the Dutch competition and where things are with that.
So it obviously have been very weird times. We've never been in complete lockdown, but there has been a while that we weren't allowed to, actually play hockey. And I think after 4 weeks, we were allowed to go back into training. And then it started with like restrictions and protocols from like washing your hands to keeping the social distance here. That's like 1.5 meters. And I think even at the start, it was 3 meters while playing. So we obviously couldn't do that much. It's more like passing and hitting on goal, and that was it. And we had to split the group into 2s. And it was all weird, but we were sort of happy that we could do something. And now from Friday, we're allowed to go back into full training, which is nice. So it's still everything with the national team, because the club teams, it's sort of the summer break now where we don't really play. And we're going to start again with our club teams in August. That's when the prep starts. And then now the league is scheduled to start on the 6th of September.
Yeah.
But it's all still, hoping that it's going to happen. But for now, it's looking good, and hopefully, we can start on the 6th.
Sure. And you play for Amsterdam?
Yes, I play for Amsterdam, yeah.
And you've played there your whole career?
No, sorry. So I've played there now for 10 seasons.
Okay.
Before that, I've played for Kampong. That's a club in Utrecht.
Yep.
I played there for 4 seasons. And I'm originally from Zeist, which is a small little town close to Utrecht. So I started a small little club there, then went to another little club in Zeist, and after that to play hoofdklasse for Kampong and then Amsterdam.
Yeah, okay. And I've been doing a little bit of background research, and I've discovered that you started playing hockey at 10 years old. And we were talking earlier before the podcast about how you got into hockey. Well, the fact that you weren't much of a hockey fan when you were growing up and you just played it because you loved it. And I just want to ask, how did you get into hockey?
It was just more as a kid, I really loved sports. So I used to do like athletics, some like gymnastics. I used to play tennis, and I even used to play, I think you say soccer, you don't say football, eh?
Either or.
Yeah, either. Okay. Well, that, and I think because I played tennis and athletics at that point, my parents were like, well, maybe you should try team sport as well, to just, be in a team and see if you like it. And back then, now soccer is getting bigger here, but it wasn't as big. And I used to play it with my little brother on the streets in front of our house. But some friends of mine were going to play hockey, and I was like, okay, then I'm just going to try it because they're going to try it, and then I know it will be fun. And I absolutely, just loved it.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about how the hockey scene starts as a kid, because I've played in Holland as a kid, and I know it's completely different to the way that things happen in Australia. And I know that you guys don't have as much space as us, but you cram like hundreds of kids onto it. Well, it seems like it, but there are games happening everywhere, it seems like. Do you want to talk us about what it's like starting hockey in Holland as a kid?
Yeah, I think it's so funny because I'm not sure if it's the same with you guys, but in the UK and in South Africa, you play a lot at school. I'm not sure if it's the same in Australia, but here we don't play hockey at school at all. It's just, we have club teams. So after school, you go to your club and then you train. And I think now you can even start already when you're 5 years old. So hockey really is a family sport as well. So a lot of the kids already start because their parents are already playing hockey, and they go to like watch their parents play and then like play a little bit themselves. And that's how you sort of roll into the whole, playing hockey. And it's exactly like you say. I think when you're younger, it's just almost like all the kids are on fields and you just sort of like have fun and play a lot of mini games. I think throughout your whole career, when you're even small to, well, still now, all we want to do is play games. Even during training, that's like the fun part. That's when you get excited. That's where you can try out all the things that you've learned. And I do think that's a really big difference compared to, maybe different countries as well, is that we play. And I think that's when you learn a lot, and that's why it's so exciting for us as well.
And so when you're coming through the ranks, you're playing in juniors. I know the hoofdklasse, the Dutch top division is huge. It's great in a country like Holland. You can have one competition for the entire country, and you have all the best players, often in the world, coming across and playing. When you're a little girl playing, did you look up to the hoofdklasse as your heroes, or was it more the international game, or did you not really care about hockey too much at all?
Yeah, I wasn't really into hockey like that. I do remember that I went to the 98 World Cup when it was in Utrecht. That was amazing, and I loved it. And I had one favorite player who was actually a man, Teun de Nooijer. That was like sort of my hero, and that's who I wanted to be. But otherwise, I didn't really watch a lot of hockey, especially not hoofdklasse. And I think because when I grew up and when I played in the town that I'm from, the first ladies or men's team didn't play in the hoofdklasse, and I wouldn't drive far to go to a hoofdklasse game. So I would just watch them, which was a few divisions lower, and then it's funny as well because during halftime break, it was always like so much fun that now's the break, and all the kids just run onto the field and just go start play together. And then when they start again, all the kids run up. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that, but that's the most amazing thing I really enjoy here in Holland, is that it's just, yeah, like I said, it's a family sport and the kids just love it. And during those halftime break, it's just so much fun to see how those kids just run onto the field and enjoy playing. But yeah, like you say, indeed, the hoofdklasse is, it's a really a strong league for the men's and women's. But I do think with the men's, there are way more international players than with the ladies. So yeah, I hope it will be cool to see. And I think probably after the Olympics that there will be more international players again as well, which obviously will bring up the game, and it's very cool to watch.
Is there a reason you think there are more men playing in the hoofdklasse than women?
It's definitely money. I do think that in general there's more money with the men than with the ladies, which is unfortunate, but yeah, that's still how it goes for now. And then I do think that we have a lot of good players, ladies in Holland as well, and yeah, that's good enough for clubs for now. I think it's really hard to, if a player from overseas comes to your club, like I said, you have to put money into that player. And if you have talented youngsters coming up at your club, then I think it's a tough decision. But in general, in Holland, for ladies, it's the best league there is. And then with not having that much money every time, I think, this is how it works out, I think, but I'm not sure.
Sure. I just want to go back to your comment about Toon de Nooijen. Was that kind of like a catalyst for you wanting to play hockey for Holland? Or do you remember what it was like watching him actually play? Because I know he's a lot of people's hockey heroes and he still gets spoken about, especially in the men's game, as being one of the greatest ever. Do you remember what it was like watching him and how'd that feel?
Yeah, to me, it was just like when I saw him play, it was magic. I thought that his touch was just the best I'd ever seen. I used to watch a lot of soccer as well, and I used to always watch Iniesta play. I always loved the way he played too. And it was more about, like, of course, they're individually really great players, but then I do think that they are great players within a team sport as well. So they do make others look good, or they do make others excel in what they do. And yeah, I just love that. That's what I try to do with like Toon de Nooijen's vision or his pass, like sort of push pass, running on like full speed. Those are the things that I always love to see, and the things that I always try to do myself to, have and to, do while playing.
Sure. We'll get back to your comments there about trying to get the best out of your team as well, because in an interview you did about winning the back-to-back World Player of the Year, you did say something along those lines. So we're going to come back to that. But was there a time growing up where you realised that you were actually pretty good? Because, I mean, the 1998 Champions Trophy, I think you were 9. And 8 years later, you were playing for the Dutch team. So there's not that much time in between there. Did you realise at one point that, that was something that you wanted to do? You wanted to play for Holland and you think you could do that?
I do remember saying after that World Cup to my dad, because it was, to me, to watch it like on that big stage. It was in a football stadium, and normally hockey isn't like, it's big here, but it's not that big. So it was like immense. And I remember saying to my dad, like, well, this is what I want. Like, I want to play in a stadium like this. And I've always been, as a kid, I've been like this sort of quiet, shy kid. And I always used to think like, yes, I can play, but I'm not that good. Like, I'm not that great. And I think I just really enjoy playing, and I always wanted to be at my best and learn. And I was eager to like train more and do more. But I remember when I got selected for the under 16s, so the Dutch side under 16s, I used to play my sort of like district team, and then you can get invited for the under 16s of Holland. And I remember that I got selected, and I was like, I'm selected for what? Like, I had no idea that it even existed, something like that. So I think that's, says a bit about me, that yes, I was eager and I wanted to like be the best version of myself, but I had no idea of like how to get there or what you had to do for it, compared to kids nowadays who are like 16 or even younger, and they say, I want to be like an international hockey player. I'd never like had that. I used to dream of it, but I had no idea how to get there. How to do it. And like you say, it just, I got into the national team when I was 17, and I haven't been not in that team ever since.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned Andres Iniesta. Do you think you kind of modeled your game around football a little bit? Or because I look at the way you play and a lot of it is about just kind of knowing where, this is what I think anyway, a lot of your game is about knowing where you want the ball to go before you get the ball. Like you're looking like a midfielder, like a Xavi or something like that in the midfield where you're constantly kind of looking around and seeing what's around you. And it seems very football-esque. Would you say that's something that inspires you? Or?
Yeah, I definitely do think so. I think that is like there are a lot of similarities compared to like football or hockey, and you can learn a lot from other sports as well. And I think, yeah, I loved football as a kid and I used to watch it a lot, and especially those players. And I do think that that's where it comes from. I want to be like aware of where I'm standing on the field, and then where hopefully the spaces will be, or the spaces that I see that I, exactly like you say, that I want to be in, or where I think that I can, yeah, put a ball into a place for someone else. And yeah, I do think that's my game. You're correct in that yeah, I do want to have that awareness and vision of where I hope that the game's going to be or will be.
We're going to get onto your hockey in a little bit. One more question on the kind of Dutch side of things, and the club competition. And I know there's a lot of talk in and around hockey about the strength of the Dutch clubs, and in particular the European clubs, and that makes things challenging for an international calendar. I mean, in Australia we don't have the strongest club competition. It's spread over a massive country, so there's 8 different club competitions. But has the Pro League impacted the club competition, or how do you approach? 2 questions, sorry. First one, how has Pro League impacted the club competition, if it has? And the second one is, do you prepare playing for Holland any different to you would prepare playing for Amsterdam?
I think the Pro League has had an impact on the club system. And I think that it is going to be a bit more of a problem now as well, because, yeah, clubs are saying, like, yeah, I'm sorry, but my players are tired because they played a game on Wednesday and then on Sunday we have to play again with our club side, or we have to play on a Friday night instead of a Sunday, which is not great for spectators or that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think it's gonna be harder for us to do both, and it's gonna be a challenge. And I hope that like the Dutch Federation and the clubs can sort it out, because sometimes it can be hard, and we are sort of right in the middle of it, because yeah, we want to play for the national team, but then we want to play for our club side as well. And I think it's especially hard because we get paid by our clubs, so you do have the responsibilities to your clubs as well, and that makes it hard. So yeah, I think it's going to be very challenging, and yeah, we even have to see if the Pro League's gonna still happen.
Of course.
Maybe even end of this year or next year. But yeah, it has been a challenge, and it definitely has been a lot. So yeah, we have to figure out how we as players can manage ourselves, and yeah, the clubs and the federation, how they can manage it for us that we or can do both, or maybe skip some international games or skip some club games. But yeah, I think we have to try and sort it out a bit better for everyone who's involved in that. And yeah, answering your question about preparing for a club game or for an international game, I think it's sort of similar, unless we really have a tournament. But for those Pro League games, it is sort of similar. The only thing is, with your club team, we're never in a hotel. You just you rock up on a Sunday morning and then you play in the afternoon. And yeah, every single time we have Pro League games, you would maybe 2 or 3 days beforehand, you would go to a hotel, and then you really get into that sort of national team vibe that we always have, just to be together. And we never really have that with our clubs. It's a bit more chill, to say it like that. It's more like, okay, I show up and then I play a game and I leave again. And with the national team, it's a bit more intense and a bit more, trying to mold together and to get used to each other as well. Because often with our clubs, we play against each other and not with each other with the national team.
With that, would it be possible to play? I mean, in Australia, hockey's a semi-professional sport. Like it is, I guess, an amateur sport, and we can play because of the the Australian Institute of Sport provide us with the financial incentive to play. Is it similar in Holland? Like, without the club competition, would being a full-time hockey player be a viable option, or is that not how it works?
Yeah, I definitely do think it would be an option. Yeah. I think that we already, even though we still have our clubs here, it's almost full on. If you would look at a normal week for us, from Monday till Wednesday, we will be with the national team, which means that we will skip our training on Tuesdays with our club teams. And then on Thursday, you have a double session with your club. On Friday, you do a gym yourself. And in the evening, you train with your club. And then on Sunday, you have your game. So even though throughout the league, our club teams league, we are still training with the national team. And I think we're lucky that Holland is not that big. So it's easier for us to come together. But there are hardly times that we as a national team don't see each other often.
Yeah, okay, fair. Last question on the club comp, because I'm very curious about it. But you have two teams that
you
are very...
should come and play.
Well, I'm very keen to. I'm very keen to. I was on my way actually before all this, but so the second thing is, do you have a different role with your Amsterdam team compared to the Dutch team? I mean, you talk about playing potentially 2 games in 1 week. For us, it's quite different because we're kind of a full-time Australian athlete, and then we have a block of time where we would go back and play for our state or something like that. So it's kind of easy to transition to a different role. Whereas it sounds like you're in one team on Wednesday and then another team on Sunday, and like I can imagine there'd be different roles involved. Are there different roles involved, and how do you balance those?
Yeah, I think there are, but I think as well that, like, to me, I am not a different player when I play for Amsterdam than when I play for the national team. Like, I try to be like just me, to say it like that.
Yeah.
Yes, there might be more responsibilities with the national team than with Amsterdam, but still on both sides, I have to, I have to be there. I have to show up. I have to be at my best. And it's not like that when I'm at Amsterdam. I think it is a bit more like chilled and the pressure is less, but still Amsterdam pays me to play for them and to be at my best. So I do have responsibilities as well there, but it's more a bit like coming home and just have a little breather. And but I still have responsibilities, and yeah, I think it's not very different between those two, in my opinion.
Okay. Now, if you missed it, make sure you go back and listen to episode 9 of The Help Side. We had a very special guest, Rochelle Hawkes, OAM, who is the gold medal winning captain of the Hockeyroos during the 90s. And I asked her which team would win out of her 3 Olympic gold medal winning teams, the 1988 team, the 1996 team, or the 2000 team. Here is her response.
That is an extremely difficult question. It would be between 96 and 2000. And I've had some people say to me, some writers say that they thought the team in 96 played better and was more consistent. Or I'll tell you what, it'd be line ball. It would be line ball. I would have to say it's, sitting on the fence, but it depends on the given day how I think it'd be line ball between the 2 teams, because it was, you had a pretty consistent teams throughout, and there were only a few different faces. So I'd say we would have
been a good matchup. Shootouts.
It would have been 5-5 draw, I reckon.
Again, if you missed it, go back and have a listen. Rochelle was a fantastic guest, and she has a lot to say. But for now, let's get back into our chat with Eva. Let's go to your international career. We've set aside a little bit of time here because it's been quite long and you've enjoyed a lot of success.
It's been quite long, yeah.
We're going to start with your debut. So you debuted, as you said, at 17 years old in Amstelveen, and I believe it was against Australia. Is that correct?
It was actually against India. It was before we had a Champions Trophy, and we played some test games before the tournament started.
Okay.
So that's when I played my first game.
Do you remember what that was like?
I do, actually. I remember that I thought it was very completely insane that I was even there. I was like, what am I doing here between all those superstars, and I'm going to play this tournament. And it was actually funny because back then we used to have a squad of 18 and there were only 16 allowed to play. So there always would be 2 players who would sit in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's different than how it is now. So I was like, okay, well, I probably, if I'm lucky, I play 1 game and the rest I'll just sit in the stands. But that 1 game, it was very special because obviously it was at home. So we played the tournament in Amsterdam, which was in Holland. So that was cool. And yeah, I think I scored a goal. It was such a shitty one, but it was a goal, and how excited everyone was for me that I actually scored a goal.
On your debut?
It was amazing, but just, on my
What
debut,
happened?
yeah.
What'd you do?
I think I was on the back line and I wanted to sort of put the ball in front of goal and it went in the goal by an Indian foot. So it was really a shitty goal.
That's
but
a brilliant goal.
That, I still remember how excited everyone was. It was like, yay, you scored during your debut. But yeah, I played as a forward and I was just loving it. Like the whole feeling of being able to play at that level and like being extremely proud, but then super surprised still that I was even there. But just enjoying it like it almost would have been my last game, because you never know how long you will play in the team or how long things like that last. So I remember just the enjoyment and excitement and just loved it.
And then straight into tournament hockey with the Champions Trophy, which was the first of 10, I believe. The way I'm going today, I've probably got that wrong as well, but 10 Champions Trophies. Has the first, what was the difference in, the first Champions Trophy, you're fresh on the block compared to your most recent one, I think was 2018, pretty sure. How'd they compare? First to now? Totally different. How do you feel before a game?
Completely different. I think it's got all to do with experience though, and when you get older that you experience things differently and more extreme. And I remember my first one, it was all just like that amazement, and you just sort of like go with the flow. You don't really think too much about it. And like I said, I didn't even play all the games because I think even probably 2 or 3 games I sat in the stands to just watch the girls play.
Sure.
Compared to in 2018 where you just, if you play then you play, you're there. But it was I found it very special, the one in 2018, because it was my 10th one and it was the last Champions Trophy of how we used to know it. So to me it was very special. But I remember some of the youngsters in our team were like, oh, it's just a Champions Trophy, and now we've got all these other tournaments. And I was like, no, actually the Champions Trophy was a tournament that I loved it. It was just a week full on, but to me it was one of the best tournaments to play because it was so much fun and really the best countries of that moment. And I've always loved to play a Champions Trophy, and I really enjoyed the last one in 2018. Completely different, but it was amazing to play, and I've got great memories playing Champions Trophies.
I think I remember, like, often in Australia we wouldn't get much hockey on TV, but I do remember that the Champions Trophy was often televised, and it was such a great tournament because, as you say, it was the best teams in the world playing a tournament for a week. And like, I can't think of many other sports where it's just like the top 6 or however many it is, just play once a year in a massive tournament, like do or die. It's just awesome. Like, it's such a good tournament. And I think it is a bit of a shame that it's not continued, but no, I agree with you there. We're going to move on to the 2008 Olympics, your first Olympics. So you must have been 19, were you?
Yeah, I was 19, yeah.
That's crazy. And you guys dominated. I mean, I was looking at the stats. You won 7 from 7. You guys only had 5 goals against for the entire tournament. And you won 2-0 in the final against China, who are the home team. What are your experiences of that tournament? Did it feel as dominant while you were there? Was this confidence that just kind of came about because you were so good, or how was that tournament?
No, to me, it was not like that at all. It's actually funny because now that you mentioned those numbers, I'm actually like, whoa, that is amazing. Because I had no idea. Like, I do know that we won every game, and that in the end we played the final against China and we won that 2-0. But to me at the time, it didn't really feel like we dominated, but I do think because I was so young, I had no idea. Like, I remember the Olympics, for me, it was like something surreal, something that was like sort of happening to me, and I could play. I didn't have to worry about anything. That's what all the girls, like the older girls, told me and Liederij, who was her first Olympics as well, and one of the youngsters. They were like, just play, just enjoy it, just do why you're here, because you're a good player. And like, it really got some pressure of us that we could just play, and we didn't really have to or get the feeling that we had to make a difference during the tournament. Like, of course you want to do that yourself, but like, there were other girls who had to worry about that. And I think that really helped us, that we could like just enjoy it and just go with the flow. And maybe that's why I wasn't so aware of the fact that we really dominated and really, played well there. So for me, it was a very, amazing experience, but I forgot a lot of stuff that actually happened there as well, because I was so young, and it was all so overwhelming that I just went with the flow. And for me, it ended in a golden medal, which was just unbelievable.
Do you remember what it was like before the gold medal match or no?
I do, because I remember that I think even for our semi-final, that we had a meeting with the team, and some of the older girls were crying, and they were like, there was a lot going on. And I remember that Liederij and I, we had no idea, because we were sitting there like, okay, what's going on here? What's all the fuss about? Why is everyone so like intense and so nervous as well? Like, it was
this is
just
before the
like,
game.
that was before the game.
People were crying before the game. Really?
Before the because there was stuff going on, and there was stuff happening, and like, we had no idea what was going on. But I think it's just the pressure of like wanting something so bad and working so hard for it, that they probably didn't have to worry about it. But like, stuff happened, worries come along the way. And like, I do understand now that I'm older why that sometimes can happen, but I didn't have a clue back then. And so it wasn't a smooth, clean ride towards the gold medal. I think there are always like bumps along the way. And that definitely happened during that Olympics as well, my first Olympics, that it was just, at one point, it was complete madness. But I do think that, in the end, you get stronger from it. So they're just like, I don't know. It's something, that happens during tournaments, but I think that's why it's even more impressive that in the end we did won a gold medal, and especially the older girls did great there. They let it happen that we won gold.
Yeah, okay. We're going to, I'm looking at a list of your major tournaments. That's what I settled on. We're skipping over the 10 Champions Trophies. We're skipping over being the world number one for however many years. And I'm looking at your World Cups and your Olympic Games, and it's phenomenal, really. The record that this Dutch team has achieved over the last 10, almost 15 years of just absolute dominance, really. So to hear something like that, and then to the outside, we look at your performance in 2008, and it's just like this Dutch machine just rolls over the competition. And then to hear something like that is amazing, really. I want to talk about, regrettably, we're going to get to a lot of the wins, but I want to talk about the 2010 World Cup. You lost to Argentina in the final 3-1. I think it was in Argentina. I'm pretty sure. And that, in another way, is pretty perfect record. I have to bring it up. I have to talk about that tournament and whether that kind of drives you, or what are your memories of that tournament? Did you guys just get it wrong, or what was that like?
Yeah, we did get it wrong in the end, I think. I think that we are a team that often plays well. Like, of course, we put a lot of hard work in it to achieve that. But like you say, because we do dominate, it's sometimes hard when it's not working our way, or when it's not going how it should go or how we want it to go. And I think over the last years, we've really have been growing into that sort of mentally resilience of like not giving up, keep pushing, even though it's not working for us. And I think back in the days we could have been like, it's not working, like I don't know what to do anymore, and then sort of like give up like that. And I do remember of that World Cup in 2010, and especially that final, I remember of having that feeling like there's no way we're going to win this game. Like it was impossible to sort of fight that Argentinian team. Like whatever we were doing, it just wasn't falling our way. So I remember that feeling strongly from that tournament. And there was a lot of stuff going on actually that tournament as well with our coach and the team. And it was a little bit of a struggle, which doesn't help. And I'm not trying to make an excuse, but that definitely didn't help. But I think, that you definitely learn from the most from your losses. And that was one of the tournaments that I really strongly had a feeling that it wasn't going to happen for us. And in the end, it didn't. But maybe because you have that feeling, it doesn't happen as well. But it's so funny how you can like sort of have tournaments now that I have had a feeling like in 2012 when we played the Olympics, there was no way we're not going to win gold in London. And it's funny how you sort of recognize the feeling with myself and as a team, how you can feel sometimes so strong and like undefeatable, and sometimes you feel like something is not feeling right, but I'm just not sure where it comes from or what it is, or it's just not working. And I think that's when it gets hard, and that's when the real like athletes or real sporting teams have to show their best, because when it's working for you and when you're in a flow, it's almost like it's effortless, even though you've put a lot of time and hard work in it, of course, to make it look like that. But I think we've learned to become more mentally way stronger and to like bounce back stronger from even when you're behind during a game, that we're not like, oh shit, okay, what are we going to do now? Because this is not going the way we planned it. I think we learned, a lot about that.
That was from that World Cup. That was a big learning experience.
Yeah, definitely. Like we have lost games ever since, but I think that's when it all started in 2010 to get a bit more our mentality right, to say it like that.
Well, I think looking across the World Cups and the Olympics from the last 10 or so years, realistically, you've only lost 2 games that matter, and they both resulted in a silver medal. Everything else is gold everywhere. So this is like, when we talk about this, I just want to stress to the listeners, like it's a sea of gold and a couple of silver medals, but they are very interesting lessons. And let's talk about 2012, because that was, again, an absolute domination. Didn't lose a game. Once again, you actually took, in the semi-final, it was quite close. And
it was so close. And
you actually took a stroke, I believe, in the shootout after the game. Did you do that?
Penalty shootout, yeah.
Was it a shootout at that stage?
Yeah, it was a shootout.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was the first tournament where there were shootouts.
That was the first one. Okay.
Yeah, that was extreme. I think I lost a bit of myself on that field.
But you scored.
That was intense. I know, but it was like, I promise you, I was like, I couldn't even...
Really?
Like if I look at myself standing there, I had the feeling that I was shaking. Like
Seriously?
I was just so nervous. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It was the first time ever that it happened, and it was like that semi-final. And yet again, that was a game that we were 1-0 down. We came back to 1-1, and then we were 2-1 down. And in the end, we came back to 2-2. And there's a whole process going. What we did before that tournament, actually, we went away on this sort of military trip, which was like the worst ever that I've experienced in my life. But I do think in the end that got us through that game. Yeah, just to sort of win that game in the end was insane. It was a game where we didn't play well, it didn't go away, but we managed to sort of win it in the end. And I do think that's what I was talking about from when in 2010 we just couldn't turn it around. I think in 2012 we could.
Yeah, okay. And you remember
the semi-final.
It's again, like this is the thing that we don't really see. Like we look at the Dutch women, they play such beautiful style of hockey, and they wipe teams off the park and these sorts of things. But as you say, that was an ugly win. I mean, went right down to the wire, and it was very interesting reading about that. What was this military camp about? What did you learn on that? Tell us about
it. I mean, I can tell about this for days, but I think to just give a sort of short summary of it, it was like in February, Max called us, he was our coach, and he told us that we were going to London to have a look at the Olympic Village and what it would look like. So it was like, no sticks, no hockey, we're just gonna have a look there. And we were like, okay, cool. And then we arrived at Schiphol at the airport, and they told us, okay, everyone, you need to hand in your phones. So you get 5 minutes now to contact your family and your friends and whoever you want to contact, and then tell them that you'll be back in 3 days. Everyone was like, what's going on? What's this is about? And then we handed our phones to our manager, and she just walked out. Like, okay, so our phones are staying here and we're going. So then we looked at the big screen. There were no flights to London, nothing. And we were going to Spain, to Alicante. We're like, okay, what's this going on? And then from then on, our coach, he didn't want to say anything to us what was going to happen. And we maybe thought that it would be like a cool team trip sort of stuff. But then when we arrived there, a bus was waiting for us with like 4 or 5 military guys. And yeah, we just went straight to the mountains. We had to wear a little, like those little green army suits. And it was just madness for 3 days, the longest day of my life, I think, the 3 days. And we've done all these sorts of stuff where you had to do stuff with the team, part of the team, where you had to do like run up a mountain with like heavy bags, and you had to do it within a certain time, and where you knew you would have done it in like 5 minutes, but then we had no idea because we obviously didn't have anything on us. And those guys, you made it to the top and they said, sorry, but that was like 5 minutes and 5 seconds. We're like, no, come on, you can't be serious. We just, you know, we've done it. We're like, no, it's not good enough. Just go back. We're like, you know, it's like, no. So I've seen girls who like pulled each other up those mountains, grabbed each other like by the hairs and just dragged each other up the mountains. And I think you've really learned more about each other. Like some of the girls where you maybe thought of like, okay, I know that they, you know, they can play hockey, they're very, very talented, but when they have to put in the hard work, like, will they really do that when it has to be done? And some of the girls really surprised me there, and they were like full on and really, you know, in a good way. And I think that's when you learn most about each other. And that's why I say, I think it helped us so much during, the Olympics in 2012, when it got tough that day, and that you can look each other in the eye and say, okay, guys, we haven't run up that, you know, that fucking mountain just without a reason. Like this is not even as hard as it was then, because, you know, we have to push through and we can do this, and more to get that sort of feeling. And I strongly believe that's why we in the end won the gold medal, because we'd done something that was so intense with the team, and where you really get to know each other, especially when it's very ugly and like not good times. And I didn't enjoy it at the time, but I do see it as a great memory now that we've done that as a team. And you grow as a person and you grow as a team. And especially when I think now that we have a lot of girls who play already for like 10, 8, 6 years together, and you've been through that together. And I think that's what makes us a good team as well, is that we really know each other.
That's an awesome story. I want to go to that shootout. You said you were shaking beforehand. Do you remember what you were thinking? Like, were you confident that you would score, or are you surprised that you scored considering how you're feeling? Or talk to me about that.
I was actually, it's silly, but I was sort of confident. I remember that I walked up to the, do you say 25? Yeah. Or 23? Yeah, 25. Whatever. And I was like, okay. Anyway, I was like, okay. I kept on telling myself, you're going to score, you're going to score, you're going to score. And I had like one thing that I used to do back then was I was like, just slap it as hard as you can. And, you know, you're going to score. So I remember that I told myself that over and over and over again, and I did, but just like that feeling of just the nerves, it was crazy. And that's why I say I think I died a little bit on that turf there, because it was just so intense. And in the end, I was so happy that, you know, it was almost like I closed my eyes and I slapped it. But I don't think I can do stuff like that now anymore, because goalies know that I do that, and then you have to sort of think about other stuff that you can do as well. And I'm not sure if I would even go and stand up there, because we've got kids now who can do amazing things with the ball. So I'd rather trust them to score a goal like that. But yeah, it was an amazing experience, but a little bit too intense for me as well.
And then you climbed
Yeah.
that metaphorical mountain, like it was New Zealand, right, in the semi-final. You
Yeah.
beat them, and then on to play Argentina, who you'd lost to in 2010, just a couple of years earlier. Did that make it more special playing Argentina, or what were the feelings like going into that game? Because you won quite convincingly in the end. It was 2-0.
Yeah.
What was that
I
game like?
remember that it was actually funny, but I remember when we played our semi-final against New Zealand before they played their semi-final. And in the Olympic Village, Argentina was staying at the other side of the little street that we were at. So they were actually right there. And I remember that we were sort of like sleeping in our beds, and they came back from their semi-final, and they were like making these sort of like wolf sounds, like "Aroo," and then they were like "Naomi, lead away, Ellen, like we're coming for you." And we heard them screaming that on the streets, and we were like, are you actually kidding me that you're doing? But that's their passion, and that's what they do, and that's what they feel that they probably had to do. But I think from that moment on, because every single one of us heard that, we're like, no ways, we're gonna get you now. Like there's no way you're gonna win this by like trying to influence us like that, or trying to like get us out of our game like that. And I think from that moment on, everyone was like, this is it, we're not gonna lose this game. And I remember that feeling again, a feeling so strongly that you're not gonna lose it. This is going to be our game. Even before we started it, we knew we had won.
And I know you like playing Argentina. Is that part of the reason why you like playing Argentina? Just good memories, or because you like the passion, or what is that?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's always an intense game to play Argentina. They are extremely talented, skillful players, and they love to attack. And I think, for us, it's tough because they don't need much to like score goals. And I think it really has to, for us, it's really a challenge to sort of stop them, and to sort of like make it not even that they get one chance to score a goal, but I think that we are really trying ourselves now as well to score as much goals as possible. So even if up front, you tell yourself, okay, maybe they score one of two or two, that's fine. That might even be given, but as long as we score 3 or 4, then it's okay as well. And I think during that final, especially, I think most of the time if you look at the play itself, we have like most of the ball position, probably that sort of stuff that we always do quite well. But in the end, we have to learn how to execute. And we had a bit of luck as well during that final, and I think that's what you need. But I think in general we like to play Argentina because of their passion, but because of their skills and their attacking games as well, what gives us space to attack too once we get the ball. Sorry to make a very long story short.
No, that's really interesting.
Just keep on talking.
That's fine. That's good for me. It means I don't have to talk so much. With that, when you're in the game, I mean, like that's bizarre. I've never heard of anything like that. Like that village story is just crazy to me. But did you think of that while you were in the game, or when you were playing it was just like, we're just doing what we do?
Yeah, I think when you like the minute the whistle goes, like this is the start of the game, then you just do what you have to do. And I do think that our game plan was really good, and like our positioning and everything around it. I think that that whole tournament we played so well, and it was always with like Argentina and Aymar that you always had to keep an eye out for her, and you almost wanted her to pass the ball if she had a ball. But I think the minute that the whistle goes, you're like, okay, we just stick to our plan, to our play, what we want to do. And then it will be fine. And I think it was like that in the end, but especially because of that belief in ourselves up front, I think that really helped too.
Sure. And did that belief hang around for the 2014 World Cup? I mean, that was pretty impressive. I know you've spoken about it as being one of your favorite hockey memories, playing in front of the home crowd, and you finally got your wish to play in front of a football stadium of fans,
Yes.
which is pretty cool that happened. But again, I'm going to throw some more stats at you. You won every game, and do you know how many goals you conceded for the tournament?
I've got no idea. I don't think it will be much.
It was one. You conceded
Really?
one goal for the entire tournament, which is pretty amazing. That was a similar group from 2012 to 2014, or how did?
A few changes, yeah.
Sure,
but
sure.
yeah, I think most of the girls were there who were there in 2012. Maybe 3 or 4 changes, yeah.
And the belief just hung around, or was that a whole different thing?
No, I think the belief definitely hung around. I think we'd done something actually before the 2014 World Cup. We'd done something extremely beautiful and special as a team. Again, that really, like, Max had a way to touch us, and I'm not sure if it really worked with everyone, but for me personally, it really worked out well. I think he sort of upfront, he tried to do the same thing again with the military guys. Like, they sort of showed up at our training camp, and then everyone was like, no, we're not going to do this again. Because I truly do believe that something like that works once, and especially because we had no idea what was coming. But to do that again, and especially because so much of the girls already had done it before, we're like, no, we're not going to do that. And then it was funny that he actually said, like, yeah, this is what I wanted you guys to do, to stand up for yourself and to say no one time, because normally we're like, okay, let's do it, okay, there's no problem. So I was like, I'm not too sure if that was in the end the case, but okay, I trust you. And then in the end, I think like a month before the actual World Cup in The Hague, we had a sort of team trip for one night, and we were all blindfolded and were put in a bus, and everyone was like, okay, what are we going to do now? A little bit like nervous, I think, again, for what we were going to do. But then, they actually drove us to the stadium, to the football stadium, and we spent the night there. So everyone had a tent, and we actually stayed there. And it was this whole story of like, this is our home. Everyone is coming to visit us here, and we're going to show everyone that they've got like nothing to do here. Like, this is our home. This is who we are. This is what we are. This is us. And yet again, it's a feeling, but to so strongly like work so hard for that and put everything into that, and believing that it is your home and it is your turf. And I think yet again, yes, we played really well, but that strong feeling really, and belief really helped us through that tournament too.
And what's it like playing in front? Because watching the footage, it was just unbelievable, your support, and your Dutch supporters are like that. I mean, there's more items of orange rclothing in Holland than there are in the rest of the world combined, but it was just like a sea of just orange. And I know playing in Holland, it's the same thing. Wherever they are, the Dutch fans they know their hockey, and they love being out in the sun, drinking beers and watching hockey, and they love supporting their team. What was that like to play in front of that?
It was unbelievable. That's why it's like such a special memory, and one of my favorite tournaments to ever play, because like when we first were at the stadium and it was empty, you're like, I actually can't believe that this, yes, of course people will come and watch, but this many, like, no, it's never going to happen. But it was sold out every game, and it was just like people, Dutchies, going wild and crazy. Well, normally, I mean, Dutchies, we are like, yes, we do love our sports, but it's nice to sort of sit back and relax and just watch it. And we're not necessarily like the loud types but it was just like extreme, and the kids, and all the noise, and just to be able to be part of, like, I thought it was a massive hockey party in the end. It was super special. And to feel that whole and see that whole orange sort of wall, the people who are behind you, it's just the best feeling ever. But what I loved about the tournament as well was that it was so special to have the men and the women there together. I really, really thought it was a great idea. And I think it was the last World Cup actually that it was like that. But I think that's just the best.
You think it should go back to that?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah. I think it's just amazing that maybe in Holland it will. I'm not sure how it was. I don't think it was as crazy as all the other games. For example, if Australia played New Zealand or whatever, I don't think it was sold out, but still people would come and watch. And especially if you would put it on a day where the Dutchies would play, then there will be people. And I think, sometimes men's hockey is that people watch it more than women's hockey, which I sort of understand. And that's why I think it's best if you would combine it all together. So you have ladies' games and men's games at the same day. And I think it felt so special and so amazing to have everyone together there and to compete at the highest level. And the crowd, it was just, it was amazing. It was unbelievable.
What about the pressure? I mean, like, one could easily see the fact that you guys are the Olympic champions. You guys are the world number 1 team in the world, like clear favourites to win that tournament. Amazing team playing at home. Did you ever think about disappointing your fans?
No, like not for 1 second. It's just weird because it's just that self-belief that we know that we can do it, and you've put everything in the preparation to be ready for it. And maybe because we already have been the team to beat for a long time, that you sort of learn how to deal with that. I think that is what we have learned throughout the years as well. Like, yes, we are the team that everyone wants to beat, and yes, we are expected to win a gold. And I think that we sort of try to prepare for that every single time. And it's a challenge, and it's not easy, but I truly believe that we can win because we are good enough for that. And it is in our own hands. And yes, sometimes a team can play better than you, and then you can, give them a high five and you say, well done, you actually outplayed us today. But we try to not let that happen.
Yeah, that's a really cool philosophy. Last question on that World Cup. Did you ever look around mid-game and think this is pretty special, or was it you just blocked it out, just played your game?
No, I'm actually someone who does think like that sometimes. I do have to focus, and I focus on the game, but I do remember that I sometimes, when you score a goal or when you hear the anthem, I know it's before the game, or when stuff happens, that you actually have this moment of realization that you're like, I can't believe this is actually happening, and that you have the goosebumps all over during a game. I do think that is those moments are special, and just that enjoyment and that sort of think about how special it is, like what you're doing at that moment and where you're at in your life. I think it is special that you sometimes, even though it's for 2 seconds during a game, can think like, wow, this is what we are doing at a team, and it's something that is super amazing. So I definitely had moments like that during the tournament.
Is that normal for you? Do you often kind of think about what you're actually doing and think this is very cool, or is it just so normal to you?
I think when I was younger, I didn't, not at all. I would just, work hard, put in all the effort. I was amazed that I would be in a team and that I, would still be there and do it. And I think now when I have gotten a little bit old and a bit more experienced, that I can sort of step back sometimes and look at what I'm doing, and then really think about it that it is super special and definitely not normal. I mean, it is special that we have the opportunities that we have, and that I play in a team that I play in. And I think sometimes we do take things for granted, but I think this is something that you shouldn't take for granted, and that is still special. Even though I'm already playing for nearly 14 years, I still truly believe it is so special that I'm playing for the Dutch national side, and I'm part of something that is that big and special for over 14 years already. I truly think that's amazing.
That's it for part A of the 2-part special with Eva. See you on the flip side for part B. Stay tuned. Big thank you to the production team of David Moore, Tim Collier and Jimmy Stevens. If you do like the help side, please like, subscribe, interact. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us at The Help Side on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's it for now. We'll catch you on The Help Side next time.